Hey, this is Dr. Kit. And I'm just here again. I'm this uh, therapist from Love and Marriage, Huntsville. They know me as Dr. Francis, but on this, I'm Dr. Kit. Listen, man, I'm glad to have you on here with me tonight. Listen, you know what time it is. You don't know what time it is? Come on. Those of you who've been riding with me now for a few weeks, a few months, you already know it is 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday. It's time to do the shake-up. We got to do this kind of a shake-up. We can't let you just sit around just doing nothing. So we got to bring on some things, to shake up, show you some new ways, take a look at some old things, give you some new ideas like right here. And man, we got it going on for you. So I just want to thank you for being on the program with me tonight. I'm grateful. It is only because of you why I'm still here. And again, I want to thank those of you who are just so diligent, helped to push my numbers over over 1,200 views in about 3-4 months. Well, that's really good. 1,200 followers, over this short while. So just keep hanging in. Just do what you got to do. Share, like, and do all this stuff. So just so people can get to know that there is some good stuff going on out here on Mondays at 6 p.m. Central time. Okay. So I really want you to be on time. So you know what you got to do. You got to like it. You know that, right? You got to follow. You got to share and subscribe. Like it, follow, share, subscribe. Like it, follow, share, subscribe. Like it, follow, share, subscribe. They tell me that if you want to remember something, you got to put it in a tune. So that's what I do. Now y'all know I'm kind of crazy anyhow. So anyhow, I'm just here just trying to just keep it light and entertaining for you tonight, but also very much informative. Okay, very informative. And I got to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this again later on. You know what? I want you to, along with this, if you want to be a part of this show, if you want to be a part of this show, if you want to be considered, just go email drkitspeaks@gmail.com. drkitspeaks@gmail.com, and my team will get in touch with you. Now, you can either be on camera or you can be off camera. We just want, because you have so much that people need to hear and people need to know. There is nothing embarrassing about the truth of life. You're just sharing from your heart. Somebody out there will be touched by what you got to say and share. And so don't be afraid, okay? Be their teacher, be their mentor, be something. You can do all of that here, okay? So to be considered, drkitspeaks@gmail.com. And let me tell you this too. Listen, on September 24th, we have a conference down in the big ATL. Now, I just got to wait on it now. There'll be more information coming out, but just watch for the info. And we want you to be a part of the early, those who are coming into this thing early, want to be a part of this. So you can get in and get your seat and you can sit down. If you just want to be a part of this, don't matter. Early, if you early register or if you just walk through the door. No, I shouldn't say that. But we got enough to tell everybody. So just come on by, okay? All right, listen, we got enough of that. Got a good show for you tonight. Now, this young man, he is an amazing young man. Got a good story to tell. And he wants to share it with as many people as possible. So we got him on here to do this. He is a leader in his own rights. He has a lot of experience that is beyond reproach. So listen, I'm going to bring him on right now. And I'm going to say, hey, listen, go ahead and introduce yourself. Here is the man. The man. And listen, man, I see you got your roll tide stuff up there, man. You didn't even ask me. if I'm a roll tide. So now I'm not going to tell you now, because I'm not gonna get into that with you, okay? But roll tide, man. All right, all right, all right, all right. Listen, man, welcome. Welcome to the show. I hear you got a lot of really good stuff that you want to share with us. And it's so much. We know you can't do it all in one sitting, like trying to eat a whole cow in one sitting. You can't do it. You got to chop it up in little pieces. You know what I'm saying? So here we go, man. Let's introduce yourself, and then just tell us what you want to tell us. And we kind of go through your play game of tennis, hitting the ball back and forth until we get tired, until I beat you. Okay. Okay, man. Take it away. Okay, take it away. Go ahead, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for having me, Dr. Kidd. I really appreciate it. My name is Adrian Hargrove. I am the Chief Operating Officer at the Boys and Girls Club of North Alabama. I'm also an anger management class facilitator with Aspire Counseling. And I do a little bit of everything that I can in the community, man. Just really trying to get involved anywhere I can, just see where I'm needed and how I can help continue to grow my community. I work extensively with men and young men, trying to help us get more in tune and more comfortable, really, with our emotions. Not a clinician, but I consider myself an advocate, when it comes to mental health and things of that nature, and just really trying to give back and try to push us forward, move us forward.
All right, listen, appreciate it. Can you just kind of just give us a brief background how you got into this whole piece of mentoring and leadership for for the young people? People like to say, well, young people today are tomorrow's leaders. My thing here is this, okay? Our young folks today are today's leaders, because everywhere along the continuum, okay, you need leaders. We need representative leaders who can contact and speak to the nowness of whoever in their age group. So I don't subscribe to that. Well, today young folks are tomorrow's leaders. They're leaders today. So can you tell us how you got into this thing, man?
I've been working in group homes for so long. I started actually working at the Harris Home for Children here in Huntsville. I want to say I was about 19 years old, and my godmother, late godmother, Miss Lorraine Miles, had given me an opportunity to work with some youth at the Harris Home for Children, and I just fell in love with it. And from there on, when I got to college, I was out in California at Pacific Union College, and there was a nearby group home, and they would bring the kids to the gym sometimes, and so we'd be in there playing basketball, and it was just a natural gravitation towards them. And so I would just talking to them about school, talking to them about, just how they were doing. And the program director was just like, man, the kids really take to you. Why don't you just come on and work at the group home? And so, while in California, I continued that, working with young people. And after graduation, it just, no matter what, it just seems like God just kept placing me.
All right.
And, we went to school. I wanted to be a sports agent. That was the goal. But my prayer has been, and, just always asking God to put me where he wants me. And it just seems like where he wants me is, working with youth, working with my people in my community, and just really, again, trying to make a difference. And so that's pretty much how it's come about as far as me getting started.
Okay.
In the field.
All right. Okay. Man, I like your appeal to the Lord, they said, listen, he leads me. And in Jeremiah, it said, he knows he got some plans for you, right? Yeah. Jeremiah 29, verse 11, they said, listen, man, I know the plans I have for you, plans for you to prosper and be in good health. That's good stuff there. Good.
I tried my plan and it didn't work out too well. So I figured I might as well just listen.
Listen to the one who knows all things. Yeah, man, that's so good. That's so good. Now, listen, I know you got something on your heart today, about man, What is it about men that you want to talk to? And I'm going to say, listen, are y'all out there? Listen, he's got something great. He want to say it about man to men. So you tell these men to stop doing what they're doing and get on the shake up with Dr. Kidd, because we got something here for you. So go ahead, man. You tell us what you got.
I would say so. Most likely, or most prevalent for me right now has been in my anger management class.
Okay.
I get a mixed group, but I do get a lot of men in there. And the thing that I probably see the most is, guys coming in and they say, I got an anger problem or I have an anger issue. And again, I'm not a clinician, but I found that as we talk about different things and, again, what incident happened that got you here?
Right.
What's going on? We talk about their past and their background. They're like, I've always had an anger issue. And one of my mentors, Choya Wise, who is the owner of Aspire Counseling, he had told me that, anger is usually a secondary emotion. And so I've used that to kind of coach, and, I take it for myself too. But at the men, when talking with the men, it's kind of like, okay, I know anger is what, presented itself, but what were you really feeling?
Right.
So, yeah, what do you mean? I was mad, and it's just like, nah. What were you really feeling? And so we kind of peel back the layers of the onion, as they say, and really try to get to the heart of the matter and figure out what was it that you were really feeling? When this happened, what was that emotion? And so in the class, I tell them it's not even an anger management class. This is an emotional management class because, being angry is not the issue in itself. Even the Bible says, be angry and sin not.
Hey.
So it's like, it's cool, to be angry. Some things are going to upset you. And sometimes you should be upset. It's what we do with that emotion or with that anger.
Yeah.
And so what I found, and even with myself, personally doing that self-evaluation, is there are a lot of times when I felt like I was angry, it was really something else. I felt unappreciated. I know that's a trigger for me. If I don't feel appreciated, for us men as well, a lot of men, if they feel disrespected, it's more of a hurt. I was hurt because I cared about this person and they disrespected me. Or they didn't appreciate me. I was sad because this person, said this to me or did this to me. And so what comes out or what presents itself is an angry outburst, but it's really to kind of mask that pain or mask that embarrassment, which is what they were really feeling. And so we say, let's address that. And when we address that, we can learn how to manage that emotion better.
All right. Listen, man, you're really saying something here, because yeah, anger is really not a primary emotion or a response. Okay, it really is not. It is a secondary, tertiary. It's somewhere down the line. Now, what happens? It might look like it's a primary because some people have used it so much that it's almost so automatic for them to go directly into anger. But the nanoseconds between what I heard, what I saw, however I input this stuff into my memory, into my consciousness, excuse me, when I input this stuff into my consciousness and I begin to process it, I do have a way of preference. So I act on that. And if anger is the one that's doing it for me, then that's the way I tend to want to act that out. So you're right. So how do you then, get these young people to come to understand that the anger that they're acting out, okay, it is not where they need to be? How do you get them to go back and take a look at the experience they had that caused them to decide to act out their anger?
So they tease me because my drawing skills aren't the greatest, but I use them. I love illustrations because that's how I learn. I like to be able to see something. And so what I usually do is I'll draw a tornado or my version of a tornado.
Okay, all right.
On the whiteboard, there in the class, and and then I'll draw little houses, and a little car, and I try to draw like a little community. And so, us being here in Alabama, most of us have experienced or at least seen a tornado.
Right.
And so, I'll ask them, how long would it take, a tornado to destroy this community? And, you get various numbers, it's, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. And so I basically explained to them that tornado is that negative reaction, it's that emotion. And then I put labels on the houses and the things, that could be your family, it could be your job, it could be, relationships with your loved ones. And so it's like, in that short amount of time, you can destroy all of those things. And then I'll ask, how long does it usually take to rebuild, that community once the tornadoes hit and destroyed the houses and things of that nature. And so now it could be months, it could be years, it might not be able to be repaired depending on the damage. And so I just try to draw that connection, help them realize in just a short amount of time, you can destroy things that took years to build and that are valuable to you. And so if we could take maybe that same 5, 15, 30 seconds and just pause, just pause before you respond or react, just pause for a second and ask yourself, is it worth it? What's the end goal? I have a lot of people say, I got to say what I got to say. I got to speak my mind. And I'm like, I got you. Yeah. But what's the end goal? Right. And a lot of times that's been kind of that thing that gets their minds going. It's like, well, what's your end goal? I got it. You got to say what you got to say. But what is your goal? And sometimes it's like, well, I just want to be heard. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to be heard, then let's again take that step back instead of just immediately yelling and screaming and going off, because now you're not communicating effectively. And so that's usually my first illustration when we start out, to just take a pause, because, again, people just say, I just snapped or I blacked out. I don't know what happened. So we do that, and then recognize your triggers, again, evaluating those situations and reflecting and saying, okay, seems like every time this is said to me, I get angry, or every time this is said to me, this is when I've had those moments. Again, working in facilities, for me, my trigger would be a kid trying to spit on me.
Oh, okay.
They can say what they want. Words don't really bother me much, but I know if a kid were to, try to spit in my face or something, that would really upset me. So what I learned to do is, I don't get close enough for them to do that.
Okay.
When you're talking,
right?
And then just being aware of it. And so, I let them know you're going to get upset, especially when it comes to people who are close to you. And usually the people who are closest to us know what buttons to push. And so the idea is for you to recognize that ahead of time, take a pause before you set that tornado off and say, you know what, I might need to go for a walk, or I might need to take a break from this conversation right now, because the end goal is, to reach some type of resolve. But I'm getting upset, I'm getting frustrated. So let me take a step back and, take a 30-second pause, take a minute pause, or longer if needed, and then revisit it.
Okay, so that's good. Now I'm pretty sure you wouldn't do this if it was not effective. So as you're doing this with these young people, because you're at the Boys and Girls Club, right? So these are some these emotions that they're going through. I'm thinking that at some point they learn that from somebody, in their orbit, in their sphere of influence. They learn that. And the younger they are, you know how it is. You get a piece of you get a piece of clay, and when it's really soft, you can mold it. And young kids love to pattern themselves after older people that they look at through their own optics like this, and they think, wow, I'd like to be like this person. And even some of the things that they might hear at the house, but do they ever talk about, or is that too much for them to talk about how they got to where anger became a part of their of, their acting out?
Sometimes they don't have to say it. Sometimes we see it. When you're dealing with the child, and you might have to call the parent. And this is in various facilities.
Right.
You call the parent. I'm sure teachers probably have to deal with it too. Where you reach out to the parent to kind of express what's going on, and you're like, I see where you got it from.
By the way they respond to you.
You're like, okay, now it makes sense. But I would say when it comes to the young people, especially, because if you say anything negative about someone's parent, you're done. Now they're going to shut you off. They're going to close you off.
Right.
But what I try to do is validate those feelings. That's a game changer. Especially if they're upset, if they're explosive at the moment. It's coming in really calm. I use another analogy. It's like if you're drowning and the lifeguard is coming at you, and the lifeguard looks like they're panicking too. You're not gonna feel too comfortable. Like,
no.
You're not gonna relax if the lifeguard look like he's out of control, and he's not really in control of the situation. So, I try to come in calm, validate those emotions, and kind of get them to talk. And what I've learned is you can't change someone's behavior, but I can influence it. I can mimic what I want you to see, or mirror what I want you to see. So if you're upset, but I'm talking to you calmly, I've got a better chance of getting you to kind of calm down. And going back to validating the needs, it's like, okay, well, what happened? And so they might be on 10 telling you what happened. You'd be like, man, that would upset me too. And now all of a sudden they're like, wait, so you're not just coming to try to, criticize me or discipline me. It's just like, no, man, I understand that. That probably would upset me too. What else happened? And so now you're getting them to start to calm down and start to articulate what happened. Because again, what I found is a lot of times that anger, that outburst, that fight is because, well, I don't really know how to articulate what I'm feeling. So I'm just going to fight. I'm just going to curse, because that's safe, that's comfortable. I know we mentioned earlier, they go back to, well, what's worked before? Well, or what I've seen happen. If I've seen my parents, fight, when they get upset, or tell someone off, or it's what I'm seeing in the community. That's what I see at school. And so validating those feelings and saying, hey, man, it's okay to feel that way, but let's talk about it. Because again, what's our end goal? What is it that we're trying to get to? And I mean, it's crazy how often sometimes they just want to be heard. They know they messed up. They know whatever they did might have been wrong, but they're just like, I just want to give you my reason, and they're used to people saying, oh, that's an excuse. I feel like there's a difference between an excuse and a reason. You might say, hey, you know what? I know I shouldn't have done it, but I just want to say why I did it. And it's like, okay, cool. Get it out. Talk to me. And I've just found, and that helps strengthen that relationship. It helps strengthen that trust, where they feel like, what, regardless of whether I did something wrong or not, you'll listen, you'll hear me out, and we can go from there.
All right. That's the key things. And let me just kind of just say this here to, because I think that validation is always important. I mean, like, for me, validation across the board is important. If somebody did something wrong, I validate the fact that they did something wrong. You understand what I'm saying? And there is a difference between validating a behavior and validating the person. I think we should always validate the person. To invalidate a person is not something that God gave us the capacity and the ability to do. We might try, but the way I see it is, if I'm going to invalidate you, it's because I have to invalidate something about me first. Okay. And when I invalidate something about me first, I'm going to project it onto you. So I think we need to be very careful. But I think it's so important to validate the person of the person. You know what I'm saying? And I think what we do a lot of times is we go directly to the behavior. You know, and which is only an example of what's going on the inside. All right. So now we have these young men. Now you're at the Boys and Girls Club. Do you do this kind of stuff with any of the females, or it's just males that you do this with?
Yes, I work with females as well.
Okay. Is there a difference in the way they express themselves emotionally?
Oh, wow. I'd say yes. In the way I think sometimes the females are. I feel like the females are usually able to express what they're feeling a little bit better.
Okay.
With the guys, you get that I'm cool. I'm fine. I ain't tripping. That's the one you get the most. I ain't tripping.
I ain't tripping.
Again, it's that vulnerability.
Right.
I'm reading a book now. One of my mentors, Mr. Bernard Payan. Shout out to my sensei.
All right, Bernard. Yeah.
Yeah, he gave me a book, and it talked about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And one of the first ones is vulnerability. And it's being vulnerable 2 ways. It's me being vulnerable enough to ask for help, and then also being vulnerable enough to offer help, because you might reject my offer to help you. And when I find these young men, it's hard when it comes to men, because men don't want to be rejected either way. It's things just get brushed off so easy. Again, you don't hear men crying to each other a whole lot, but women typically, you'll hear that ladies feel okay with getting on the phone and crying with each other, or crying on your girlfriend's shoulder, whereas men, you don't see it as often, where a guy might call another guy and say, hey man, I'm hurt, I just need to cry on your shoulder, but that's okay. I'm blessed to have some men in my circle right now, starting with my father, where I can call my dad and cry. I got boys that I can call and cry, and vice versa. And it's okay. And I think what I find most in dealing with the young men is they don't want to cry. They don't want to let you get that close. They don't even want you to touch that emotion. It's like a wound, and you're trying to put a bandage on it, or you're trying to treat it, and they're like, don't touch it, because it hurts to even address it. Whereas, I found that sometimes the young ladies are usually more open to, having those emotions addressed.
Okay. Now, is that considered, if it's across the board, and I'm sure there's some variations about this,
right,
but do you think that's a kind of a learned behavior, or let me back up. Is that a taught behavior? Were they taught to behave this way? Because I think something, when we learn, is what we take from something. When we are taught is what we're given to us. You understand? See, so I'm going to the difference here. Do you think that's a taught behavior where we say, boys do this and girls do this? I mean, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. With boys, and I remember growing up, toughen up, man up, you a boy, stop crying. They'll say, stop crying like a little girl. So things of that nature that boys hear, that's taught to them that, as a boy or as a man, you can't be weak, and again, that crying or that showing emotion is taught to be a sign of weakness. But as we grow, we understand that it's actually the opposite, being able to feel those feelings, being able to acknowledge those feelings. The idea is just, it's cry, but then get up and do something about it. So I'll tell them, cry, but don't just sit in the puddle of tears, get up, wipe your face off and now let's develop a plan to move forward. But if you need to sit and cry for a moment, do that. And you know, embrace those emotions and feel those emotions. And that's how we were able to grow emotionally.
You said earlier on that you were doing some work at the Harris home with the late Miss Miles, and several years ago, I did some after school work at the Harris home also. So and every now and again I would see somebody in their 30s say, "Man, you remember me?" I said, "No, I was at the Harris home." That kind of stuff. They could have had something different to say, right? But the point that that I want to make here now is this: that or ask you this, or for you to just talk about these young folks that you're working with at the Boys and Girls Club. Okay, they will grow up to be 20, 25, 35, 40, 45. They will grow up. Now, at what point? And listen, and they want to get married, right?
Right.
And the potential wife wanted to talk about her feelings. You don't want to deal with that. So now we have I don't mean physically hitting each other. It's just just confrontation kind of a thing, Yeah. So, but isn't it then important that we somehow get to these young men to teach them how to grapple with their emotion? Because to do that, they're really planning for their future to become fathers, husbands. What are your thoughts on that?
So, interesting enough, I get that a lot in the class. You'll get men who come in and it's, my wife said this or my girlfriend said this. And, I personally, if I'm being vulnerable, I would get really defensive as well, when someone might be sharing what they're feeling. And there's two things I say, we have to separate facts from feelings, and we have to separate intent from impact. And so even though you might not intend, to hurt someone or to whatever it was that those feelings that are being shared with you, you have to respect the impact that it had. And, again, I'd have to say, I had to separate my facts from someone else's feelings. So it's like, you might be saying, like I had one gentleman and the wife was saying, he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. And so they gave a scenario. It was a couple actually in the class. And she was saying, well, I was telling him, what I needed him to get from the store. And he's watching TV and he's not listening. And so he was like, well, you said, bop, 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 bop. And he ran off the entire list. So for him, the fact was I was listening, but she felt like he wasn't. And what we got to the bottom of was he didn't give her his undivided attention. And so it wasn't a matter of whether he was listening or not. It was, I need your undivided attention. And so as men, and what I try to help the boys understand is sometimes you have to dismiss what you intended and understand the impact you had. And again, be okay with accepting that criticism or that feedback or the feelings that someone might be sharing, because again, then it comes off as anger. If I'm saying, hey man, you can't do that because of this, and now he's going off trying to explain to me what his intent was, and I'm like, I feel you, but this is the impact that it had. The teacher felt like you were being disrespectful when you walked out of class, or your fellow student felt like this, or your friend felt like this, or your parents felt like this. And so it's really just being able to gain an understanding. How they say listen to understand, not just to respond. So it's like taking that step back, even going all the way back to the tornado, where it's just like, just pause before you get to spinning and listen, and be okay with saying, you know what, if I accidentally stepped on your toe and you're telling me how bad it hurt, I can't tell you it didn't hurt just because it wasn't on purpose. And sometimes I feel like that's what we do. It's like, well, I didn't try to do it, so I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of it. And it's like we can't invalidate that person's feelings just because we made a mistake and stepped on their toe.
Right, right. So one of the things that you kind of came to me when you're saying, you know, this woman said, listen, when you go to the store and get these things, and she felt that he was not listening.
Mhm.
And from what you're saying, I'm just thinking maybe what she really needed was some acknowledgement. Just acknowledge two things. Acknowledge that you heard what I said, but acknowledge me as a person.
Absolutely.
You know, and so if the person does not feel acknowledged, then basically nothing else matters because the person of the person, this of the person that she has to live with. So if he continues to do that, just he can tell her what is said, but I think she needs more than that. And so she's expressing, I'm thinking, her emotions. He's just being very intellectual about it.
Right.
Speaking of cognition, this is what I heard, this is what I know, all this kind of stuff. You know? Those two, they're not bedfellows like that, you know, cognition and emotions, you know, they're not like that, you know. So again, these young people that you're dealing with, the Boys and Girls Club or just any place, church friends, you know, in church. Don't put it all on Boys and Girls Club. Churches, they have different classes for different age groups in church. And one of the things that I'm concerned as I speak about church is that we can take a very spiritual path, and that's okay. That's okay because that's generally what the path that churches go down. But before you can go down there, you know, you gotta get to the point where, you know, people are gonna follow you down that spiritual path. And in order for them to follow you, you know, I will follow you if I'm thirsty and you got water. I will follow you. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know what I'm thirsting for, and you're just going to give me what you think I should be getting, yeah, it could be a problem. So how then do we, because you know, this is what happens. You know, the church becomes a stronghold, and so. But do you think like churches are doing enough to help our young folks deal with their emotions? Yeah, it's wonderful to pray. We understand that God is powerful and all that. But how do I deal with this thing at 1 o'clock in the day, 6 o'clock in the evening, 9 o'clock at night, and here go 2 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep? When something happened to me yesterday or early on today, and I have not dealt with, gone inside myself, where do we go with that? And you know, church and Boys and Girls Club, and where do we go with that?
You're trying to make me step on some toes.
That's what the shakeup is, man.
Yeah. From my personal experience, I would say yes and no. As a whole, I think there's work to be done. But I will say I feel like it's something that we're aware of now. And so I think there is more attention being paid to it. But for me, again, you know, my relationship with God, I look at Jesus, I'm like, he was just real practical. You know, the spiritual part came, but kind of like you said, he was very practical. He spoke in parables and things that people could relate to. I think the same approach can be used, you know, when we're talking to our children in the church, is just listening, you know, just shut up and listen. Sometimes it's like we get so quick to want to tell them, just everything, like do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. But sometimes just listen, and hear what they have to say. Listen to their experiences. I was at a church. I was asked to do something at a church, and they were talking about, how do we get the youth back involved, and how do we get reach our youth. And so they were telling me we're going to have a panel discussion, but the people on the panel was older than I was. And so, I was like, well, look, you asked me to do this, so I'm gonna do this my way. And so the panel guys were just there for decoration, because I went around the church and started asking some of the youth, the questions that, were provided. But I spoke to the people afterwards, and I said, hey, this is part of the problem. You say this is a youth program, but the youth aren't deciding what the program looks like. You're telling the youth what the youth program is going to be. And it's like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. So I feel like the church is aware of it, or at least I hope. And I think, from some of the things that I hear from some of the church groups that I'm familiar with, we are working towards getting better with that. But shut up and listen. I mean,
you said that, did you, man?
It's so, to me, it's so simple. Listen to what they're saying they need, instead of us just trying to force on them, what we feel they need. And then, of course, you help them develop that relationship with God, where the prayer comes in, and we're spending that time in the Word and those things, because, of course, we all know that works. But if they're not in a place where they feel like they have that relationship to where they can pray, because like you said, sometimes this stuff is happening right in front of me.
Right.
And, I'm praying about it, and, it doesn't seem like God is answering that prayer yet. And so they haven't developed that faith muscle,
Mm-hmm.
older,
I like that. Faith muscle. Yeah, I like that.
Where we can kind of understand, like, okay, I prayed about it. Now I know, God's gonna work it out in His time. But they don't always understand that right away. Kind of like eating. They say they're hungry, and you're like, all right, we're gonna get something to eat, and you already kind of have the idea of going grocery shopping and getting the groceries, and so you can understand the process, where sometimes children can't. So they just gonna keep saying they hungry, and they gonna fuss and panic. But like I said, that faith muscle has to be developed, and I think we have to be more patient with them as we're helping them develop that.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. So we talked about, we talked about school a little bit. We talked about the Boys and Girls Club. We talked about church. But I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, that the fundamentals of the growth and development of children is this little place we call HOME, home.
Right.
So how do we involve parents, or do they even think that they have this great responsibility? Because some parents kind of just funnel their children off to external. They outsource them. They put them out there. So what do you think we need to do about that?
To me, it all goes back to that community, and why I'm so passionate about the community, because it does us no good if we, help the child work on certain things, and then we send them right back into the same environment. Right. Again, in the group home setting, in California, I worked in the juvenile area. And so you get kids who are on probation, they come in, you work the program, you teach them all these things, and then you send them right back into the household where everybody's a gang member. And then, 2 months later, they're back in, and you're like, you learn the program. Yeah. So I think it's the job of the community as a whole. Individuals like my friend Juliette Wise, I know she was on, working with women. There's other individuals that I know that work with parents and work with adults and helping in so many different ways, so that we're not just working on these children in isolation and not also helping the parent, because I know parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're overworked and they're frustrated, and so they might not have time to do homework with the child when they get home, or they might be frustrated about them getting in trouble at school, and so there's so many different things that can impact that, and so it's really trying to support the entire group, the entire community, and so giving parents tips and tools, and again, the parent has to be willing to accept the
Right.
feedback, and those of us offering have to go in a way where we're not being judgmental. You're not going in criticizing, you're not again going in pointing the finger, but more of, hey, I'm here to support.
Right.
What is it that you need? And it's building that relationship. Building that relationship is not, again, just coming right in trying to, I'm gonna fix you, because then that makes somebody feel like, well, what's wrong with me, or what you feel like you're in a position to fix somebody.
Yeah.
But it's more of, I'm coming in to support you. I'm here with you. We're in this together, and we're gonna work forward together. And once people understand that you care about them, once they understand that, hey, you know what, this is a group effort, it's a group project, then it's a lot easier to build those relationships and to us be of assistance to the parents, and helping to not improve. As you said, yeah, improve the child's behavior.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm thinking is that in order for parents and children to kind of work together, have to have this common goal. But they gotta have this mutual buy-in, though. They gotta buy into this, so that and I don't know if some parents don't feel like they are influential enough positively on their children, and then they look to people like you, though. We look to people like you, but they got to have a buy-in. And I think these young folks, they're intelligent, they're smart, they're not babies in diapers. You know what I'm saying? That's not where they are. And so to try to get them to have a buy-in, they're going to have to. Of course, they're saying, "What's in it for me?" What's in it for me? And man, we got to make sure that that they can see something in it for them. Past what you put in their hand, as opposed to what you put right here. This is where they need to say, "This is there's something in it for me." For me here. And of course, you said I agree with you, man. You said the parents. If parents don't want to feel like a failure,
Right.
They really don't want to feel like a failure. So the way you approach them, and what I'm hearing you say, is very, very important to get to get them on the teamwork.
And I would say with that, one of the things is it's kind of highlighting what they've done well.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes when I'm a parent as well, you look at the things and you feel like, man, I wish I had done this differently. Or I wish, you're doing your best, but sometimes you have those things where you say, man, I wish I had done some things differently. And so again, validating them and saying, hey, you know what, you did a really great job at this, or your son or your daughter is extremely intelligent, or they're very talented in this area, tell me about yourself. And so you start finding things out about the parent, and again, building that relationship. You're like, oh, okay, so that's where he gets their art skills from, or that's where they get, their ability to do this, that, and the other. And so you start building them up as well. And like you said, then they're more in tune and more likely to accept what you have to say versus just coming in with all this, negative stuff. It's how can we take these amazing skills and talents that you have and reach a common goal? So what is the goal? What is your vision for your child? What is your vision for yourself? How can I help? And I think, again, once we get to that mindset as a community of of collaborating over trying to compete with each other all the time, or you know, trying to outdo someone, and realizing that, you know, if I win, we all win. You know, if you win, we all win. You know, if, like you said, our children are now. You know, they're not just the future. They're right now.
Right now, yeah.
And if we can embrace that and put our arms around them and around each other, then we'll see a lot more growth and success in our community.
Yeah. You know, I like that. You know, if we can validate the parents. You know, because I'm wondering, you know, some of those parents who have the fear of failure. You know, they just don't do things because they don't want to feel like they're a failure, because they've been told they're a failure all, you know, pretty much all their lives. You know, and so they just quit trying. But I really like what you say. You know, you said tap into, you know. So that's where they get their art skill from. So you're telling them about the good stuff about their children, and now you're making a connection with where they got it from, which is them, you know. And you know, you're right, man. All of a sudden, they're not all of a sudden, but you know, they begin to feel good about themselves, you know. And you know, even tap into some of those parents. Say, hey, listen, you know, as long as they're clear, you know, yeah, come on over, you know, you know, you can do this, you know. We can start a little art class for you over here, you know, those kind of things. So now the parents are beginning to exercise with children maybe some of the invalidation that they got as you know, as children, you know. And so now you get all this creativity stuff that's coming out in these parents, man, you know, because I think that is such a key piece, you know, when we can get the parents to come in and, you know, and little so and so said, hey, this is my daddy over there, you know. This is my mom over here. This, you know. Now all of a sudden, you know, he begins to feel, you know, big chest and, you know, feeling real good about himself. To say, listen, his mom is over here. So little Johnny goes and say, you know, so and so, you know, Brian's mom's over there doing this. Can you come over there and do and teach us how to do this? All of a sudden, man, now you got almost as many parents in the places you have children. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I think it's to me it's a really good teamwork. Really good teamwork, man. Listen, I appreciate you know, all the wisdom that you've been pouring out this evening. You know, I'm learning stuff, and I'm sure our listeners out here have learned a whole lot of good stuff. And you know, do you have a challenge that you'd like to do in two areas? One challenge, or can you challenge those kids, but also can you challenge their parents? You have a couple of challenges that you want to put out there. You know, I know, man.
Oh man, I would say I would challenge the parents to have a conversation with their children and listen. Give them the space to tell them how something they did impacted them, regardless of intent, and just listen. I'm blessed. I've had some conversations with my parents recently, you know, over the past, you know, year or two, you know, once I got into therapy and learning some things myself, and you know, it took some time, but being able to have some genuine conversations about how certain things that took place impacted me and has impacted me my entire life.
Yeah.
Of their intent. Because, you know, now I'm in a place where I can understand a little bit better, you know, why they made a certain decision, or, you know, why things happen. Because again, we're all human, but the impact that it had, it's like, whoo, I've been carrying this thing. And so, you know, for both me and my parents, you know, I remember my mom in particular, we had a conversation and she was just like, man, you just freed me, you know, because there were some things that, you know, some decisions, you know, she made different things where she felt like it might have impacted me in one way, and that it actually wasn't the reality. And she said she was like able to remove this burden that she had been carrying. And, you know, I would say that's a game changer. If that can be done at a young age to really allow your child, respectfully, to express, how they're feeling, because you don't want them to grow up feeling invalidated, feeling like, you know what, I want to say how I feel, but if I say how I feel, it's going to be held against me. If I say how I feel, I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm just not going to say anything. And they hold that stuff in, and we hold that stuff in. And as we get older, it just continues to eat and eat and eat away with us. And then it becomes a permanent part of us until we're able to, get therapy and get help, to where we can actually deal with those things. So that would be one. And then I would say the second one, I'd say give yourself grace. Give yourself grace and give others grace in the space to be human. We're gonna disappoint each other at times, but just kind of giving ourselves the space and grace to be human. Those would be two challenges that I would say.
Okay, man, I appreciate that very, very, very much. I thank you. I thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, the boss Hargrove was online with it. Oh man, listen, man. You did a fine job, just letting us know first off, what you do, and then you took us through through the community. You were able to hit a number of different areas and tie it all in together. Boys and Girls Club, church, community, parents, all this kind of stuff. Because I think one of the things that you're really doing in terms of your intervention is keeping them out of the back of a police car.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's Juneteenth today. And do you know, I don't know if you heard the news last night, but there was a Juneteenth party up in Chicago somewhere.
I saw that.
Senseless.
And
people.
To touch on that though, and it goes back to the significance of community.
Okay.
I was in the community, in one of our housing projects areas, and talking to a young man who I've developed a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some things going on, and I asked him, I said, "Man, what's the secret? What's the secret sauce? What's the solution?" And he said, "Man, just meet with us."
Wow.
They just want to hang out. And so, I've got a great group of men again surrounding me. The leadership here at the Boys and Girls Club, some of the mentoring programs that are around town. A lot of us men have been in talks and figuring out ways. LC Smith with Real Fathers Making a Difference, Men's Night Huntsville, Justin Lockett. There's just so many that I know of, and we've been in conversations of figuring out how we can just spending time with these guys. Tony McGinnis with the Housing Authority, we just had a meeting last week. But some of the young men that I'm talking to, they're just like, man, just spend time with us. It's not about a program. It's not about an event. It's not about, all these stuff for the cameras. It's like, just spend time with us, and so I think that's going to be, again, a game changer, and how we can see how we can really make a difference. It's just starting to spend time and build relationships,
Okay. I'm thinking, because you said it 2 or 3 times, just spend time with it. And it's almost like that there's a void there, a hollowness there. And for them, you would then, if they're asking you to spend time with them, then they're really casting you in an important role in their lives to feel something about them that is empty.
Absolutely.
Are you able to, you can tap into some of those things sometimes, some of those places sometimes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, you get their phone numbers, and this particular young man and a couple of the guys, sometimes during the week, it's just like, hey, what y'all doing? Let's go eat.
Okay.
And just go eat. Or if you drive by, you see him on the basketball court, and it's just stop and go out there and just talk to him for a minute, and it's just those little things that Um, I was at the Boys and Girls Club National Conference a few months ago.
Okay.
And a gentleman told a story. I think it was in Chicago.
Okay. All right.
He had started spending some time with the group of guys that were, gang members.
Yeah.
And he just spent time with them. And he said he told them, if you ever feel like you need to shoot somebody, he said, all I ask is that you just call me first.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. He's like, I'm not telling you to put the guns down and stop the violence. He's like, I'm just asking that you call me. And so there was a shooting, rival gang, shot one of their members. And he said the guy called him. And he said, he had already got word. And he says, hey, I know what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. I understand the code. He was like, but before y'all go, will y'all just come have some pizza with me? And he said, the guy was like, all right, whatever. So they went to a pizza spot. And he said they sat for about 2 hours, ate, talked, laughed, joked. He said he never brought up the situation. And he said after a while, they decided, you know what, it's not worth it. Because if we do it, then they're going to come back, and then they're going to come back. And so, out of a group of maybe 10, he was able to save about 3 of them. And so, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, yeah.
Started with, I'm building a relationship with these young men.
Right.
I'm just having pizza. Again, it's not an event that I invite them to, and then I don't talk to them again until the next event. It's not a program that I want them to sign up for. And if they don't sign up for the program, they don't get to spend time, with the group. It's just genuine, basic, hey man, how you doing? Let's go grab something to eat. And so that's that. And that might be another challenge. I say for us, in the community, just find, whether it's some young people or even if it's, people within your peer group. Just spend quality time and genuine, simple time with people, and just strengthen those relationships for the betterment of our community.
Right, because even older guys, not old guys, but older guys in their 20s and 30s, there's this void that's there. That, somebody was missing, from their stable, and it just wasn't there, and so they missed that part. Listen, man, I really do want to thank you, but I'm going to ask you to do one other thing now before we close it out. That is to give the people your name again, and I don't know if you want to ask them to contact you or you might be able to go out and talk to a group of kids, talk to a church group, however you know what you do, and so just give them your name and. Because you got a really good mission, man, and we need you to be out there in the community. I'm sitting down in the office, but you're out there in the community. So I'm working with them at one end, and you're working with them at another end. So now we're a team. You understand? And you know that, right? We're a team, and that team members can't be at the same place at the same time. We have to be in different places, attending to different needs for different people. But when we bring it all back together, we're saving people. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and tell us, give us your name again, and however you want to contact you. That'd be really good.
Well, again, my name is Adrian Hargrove. I'm on Facebook. It's Adrian Hargrove. Instagram, it's Adrian_Hargrove. The website is adrianhargrove.org. That's adrianhargrove.org. But Facebook, Instagram, I'm on there. That's probably the easiest way to contact me.
All right, Adrian, I do really, really thank you, sir. I do really thank you.
Thank you. I'm
thank you for the work that you're doing at the Boys and the Girls Club, man, and for dealing with those teens, okay? And keep up your mentoring and your tutoring program. Is there anything else you want to say about that before we shut it down?
We've got 11 clubs in the North Alabama area. So if you got any youth, that is interested in our summer program, or when school starts back up, you can go on the website, the Boys and Girls Club, and sign them up, get them signed up for all our summer programs, man. We got a lot of great things going on. And it was actually even more than I realized before I started working here.
Yeah.
It's an amazing organization and doing some amazing things. And we love to have, especially teens.
Teens.
We need more teens to get signed up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And if listen, I think y'all listen. And if they give you a heart, say, Mr. Hargrove told me.
Yeah, tell them I sent you.
Use you as a door opener, man. As a door opener. Listen, man. Listen. It was really good having you. But I think you got some team players out there, right? That you play with out there. Some team players that's doing the different part of putting different parts in the puzzle with you. Yeah. You know what, man? One of these days we need to get a couple of those guys to come on with you. Let's play ball on here. Talk about how the different parts that you play in the community, how they all come together to kind of mesh and help in our community. Listen, if we can do that, because every time when we lose one of our young folks, male or female, to incarceration or to the whole grave, we've lost a doctor, a lawyer, a preacher, a teacher. You hear what I'm saying? We've lost all of those people who could grow up to do some earth-shaking things to make my life, your life, a lot better. So it makes sense for us to do the very best we can while we have them. We don't have to wait till they're a captive audience in Limestone or some other federal penitentiary, and certainly not in the grave. We don't want them down there, So you and I, we got to be really, really vigilant about what we do. Adrian, thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank
Good
you.
talking with you. We're gonna get you on, and we're gonna get some of the other guys that you mentioned there. We're gonna talk about a few stuff about how to help our young people in a time when there's all kind of crime and violence and drugs and stuff like that going on out there. Okay, is that okay if we get you back at a later date and give you time to get yourself a little crew together, and then we come on and we just talk it through?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
All right, thank you much, sir. All right. Blessings on you, sir. Blessings. All right, people. Adrian Hargrove, man, this young man is full of wisdom and knowledge. I've kind of left that scene a long time ago. So he just reminded me of a lot of things that I used to do, and he's doing even more than what I used to do. He's doing an amazing job. And so, if you'd like to, he gave you his contact number, just get in touch with him, okay? If you can't remember his contact number, just get in touch with, drkidspeaks@gmail.com. My team will put you in contact with him so that we can grow our teens into becoming the kind of young people and good social contributors that we want them to be. Okay, so can you do that? Please, one of them might save your life or mine. So it's very, very important that we invest even now. So thank you so much. Listen, if you want, listen, as I close it out, don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe. Okay, like it, follow, share, and subscribe to this program. Like the program, follow it. Make sure you walk with me every week like this. Share it with everybody else out there, and you just subscribe to it, and we'll be so happy. Listen, then for future shows, okay, to be considered for future. And listen, we really want you to come on and tell your story. That's all it is, just to tell your story. And every time you tell your story, you know what? Your story is going to positively impact somebody else. And that's what it is. Somebody can say, wow, you mean this person is going through this or went through this like I went through and going through this? Then they feel free now from this prison of circumstances that they're in, okay? So to be considered, please get in touch with my team at drkidspeaks@gmail.com. and they will get in touch with you and set you up, and so that you can come and not just share information, share your expertise, because you are the expert at your life or in your life. You are the expert. So we want to hear from you. We want to get in touch with you. We want you to share your expertise with us. Okay. So if you can do that, we would love to have you there on the Shake Up every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time. Okay. 6 p.m. Central Time. And again, the last thing that I want to say is September 24th, look out for more information that's coming your way about the relationship conference that we're having in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, space is limited. So once the information come on out there, and want you to jump right in on it, because it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day from about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning until 4 in the evening. So you're going to have a full day of this. It's going to be a lot of fun, very interactive. So we want you to come, very thought-provoking, and you get to learn, not to be taught. We want you to learn stuff. All right. So come on out. All right. So be good. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Stay well. Help somebody, because when you do, you'll help yourself. Be good. See you next week, 6 p.m. Shake Up with Dr. Kidd. All right. Bye-bye.